All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. Welcome to the first discussion we're having here on the Municipal Road and Bridge Fund. We're coming to you from the Department of Transportation. My name is John Paul Verducci. You can call me JP. I have all my contact information out there. I want to keep this as open of a process as possible. So I'm going to also introduce here, we have Pam Cotter from our planning division and Dave Walsh, who's done a lot of stakeholder outreach. You've worked with these two a long time for many of you, so I wanted to really round out the team here and make sure we have a lot of good information for you. So with that, we'll get it started and just kind of go over what we're going to do today. I know it's lunchtime, time is limited, so we'll get right into it. We're going to do a brief presentation, and then from there, we'll do some discussion and questions.
I don't think you shared the screen just yet. Oh, yeah, okay, you're good.
Good.
Very good.
Great. So just want to go over some of the ins and outs of the programs. We'll do a very high level overview. We do have some specifics for you. We'll get into those during some question and answers. We'll have an open discussion. And then really we're going to want to hear from you all on your feedback, things that you may need help with as we go forward. So this was passed this last legislative session. The Municipal Road and Bridge Fund has $20 million in funding. It's going to be for roads, sidewalks, and bridges. This consists of a 67% local match, 33% by the state. Two buckets of money here, which are interesting. You've got the first $5 million, and that's just divided equally by municipality. So that's $128,205 each. And then that remaining $15 million share is distributed proportionately. And that's based on your share of non-federally eligible lane miles. Just getting right into the eligible expenditures here, we have roads, sidewalks, and bridges. So we wanted to give you a little more information. We're going to update this website as we go. We did get some early feedback asking for more particulars on the roads. As far as those, we're talking mill and overlay, crack seal, chip seal, and so on. As far as the sidewalks go, replacements will be eligible. And with those two areas, of course, the ADA compliance. We are here to help you navigate through that. I put a great resource up here that's on our website that can get into more of the details with that as you go, should those situations come up. And this may be another area where if you all see a need for it, we could do maybe some additional training or outreach to make sure everybody's on the same page with the ADA compliance. Bridges, we did have a ton of information on the website, a lot of particulars, but we really wanted to boil it down into some more basics for you here. So what you're going to see is your bridge washing, painting, deck repairs, joint repair replacement, steel, concrete, and scour repairs, just to give you a sense of what will be eligible under the program as we move forward. And our not so favorite, the ineligible expenses. We're going to try to really focus on getting the work out onto the streets, municipal admin costs, legal costs, insurance, and anything done before we enter into our agreements will not be eligible. Also, with a lot of this work, we're really going to pay attention to what else we're intersecting with. So water lines, dams, sewers would not be eligible under this program funding. A little bit more on the funding. It's going to be reimbursement based. We did get some early feedback again from some of you, and with our experience in the past, we want to make sure that the reimbursement schedule is fair and works on a cash flow basis. So right now it could be monthly, but we know those things may change based on the municipality. So we're more than happy to work with you on those. The other piece of this is the monthly reporting. We will make this a little more formal as we go forward, but just wanted to start the conversation now so you understand we'll be looking for basically a progress report. It's not going to be something very high level detail, more of an update on where we stand with your procurement, any estimates you're receiving, how far in line you may be with your funding amount, schedules, and your construction progress. That way we can start to make sure the reimbursable amounts are queued up. We're not dragging too much time. And in front of you here, not great to see on the slide, but there is a link. And anybody who's looking for another version of this, please reach out and let me know. This is where the whole program stands. So from left to right, it just shows you the two buckets I mentioned before, the 5 and the 15 mil. And then all the way across will show your match and total project cost. A little bit about the process. The applications are due October 15th, 2023. So that is the end date, but we wanted to let you know that evaluations can begin and will begin as soon as the projects are submitted. We want to get this done on a rolling basis. We know there can be long lead time items in here, so we want to get eyes on it as soon as possible. The review is really going to be a very high level review. These projects we consider coming from the municipalities, driven by your needs. And we want to make sure that we have the basics before we get too far. So looking at the project limits, making sure that it conforms to our STIP, to make sure we're not intersecting with anything ongoing or immediately planned. And then, of course, the feasibility of meeting the deadlines associated with the funding. I should have mentioned earlier, this funding is tied to federal funds. As many of you are aware, the local relief funds have some pretty tight timelines for obligation. So we just want to make sure that we're not biting off more than we can chew. We want to get those challenges addressed up front. So as far as what's going to be needed to apply, we have designed this with the municipalities in mind. We want to keep it relatively simple, at least to start off. So if you know your project limits, generally the kind of work you're looking to perform, you can certify that you have the appropriate match. And we can jump right into the long lead items. This will be part of our review as well, to make sure there isn't any kind of long lead time item for permitting, right-of-way acquisition. You simply just wouldn't have enough time to get it done under the parameters, and we wouldn't want you to find that out too late. This is also on our website. We'll keep updating this as we go. These are some key dates. As I mentioned, the application portal opens August 1st, and you got couple of months after that to get it in. In the meantime, we're going to work with everyone on any technical issues you may be facing during that. We're also going to do a walkthrough of one of those and post it up on our website for everybody to be able to look at once the application opens. That way you'll have a kind of video description of how to perform the actual functions. We'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute. And then as you can see, once that application period closes, we gave ourselves a couple of months to continue the review process, but it would be much better to get these going on a rolling basis before that. So as you can tell, it's very front loaded on the schedule, and then we kind of get a bit of breathing room. You'll have those 6 months to obligate. If, of course, you got a approval beforehand, you'll have more than that amount of time. Obligation in this case, we're talking a purchase order. As far as project completion goes, now we really have some more extended time for you. You'll see that wraps up in October of 2026. For project being ended, final payments can be made all the way through December of 2026. So it is a bit of a rush schedule at the beginning, a little bit of a break, and then you get to execute. Some of the tools we're going to have for you, we're going to drive you to our website. We're going to post as much as we can there. As I mentioned, we're going to have an application portal. And essentially what this is going to look like is it's GIS based, but we want to keep in mind that we don't want to blow everyone away with too many technical layers and other items in there. So we're going to have you a landing page that will explain the process. And then essentially you'll have a map and an application. And what it'll come down to is kind of outlining your project limits, answering some questions, and then we'll consider it updated after that. From there, we can make changes. Us on our side, we'll have a line of sight into it. We can flag stuff, you can flag stuff. We'll go through it that way. We know there's a lot of questions that are going to come up. So as we go, we are going to establish FAQs that we'll post on the website. That way, the lessons learned and the things we're finding out get up there for everybody else. I referenced the funding table. That will be that is up there now, but another reference for you. And we will do the walkthrough video. So we could do a proposed project just to show you what it would like to put it in. That way people get a little bit better feel for it. You can refer back to that. Again, the ADA portions, those will be linked on there as well. So if you have any questions for that, you can jump on there. And finally, I just want to give you my contact information again. I'll be available to answer any questions on this. Anybody who's had any dealings with me so far knows I really do try to get right back to you. Phone, email, whatever you prefer. We'll keep the contact open. So that is the overall program. That's what we're looking at. Again, very high level. I know everyone out there is busy, so I just wanted to reiterate, highlight some of the things that have been pushed out. And now we can open it up and see if everybody has questions out there. We can put them in the chat, or we can raise hands. Go from there.
Ask questions, things,
See us. Yes, looks like we're getting some PowerPoint questions. I certainly will. We'll post that as soon as we're done today. We'll make sure we get that up as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hey, John,
Senator Rogers.
how you doing? Thanks for the opportunity. Hi, Pam. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Quick question. Going over it, I know you say application starts August 1st, ends November 23rd. Now, I'm going to be speaking as a highway director at this point right now. What I've got already planned, our fiscal year, just like the state runs July 1st through June 31st. I don't have enough capital to leverage out the entire thing in one fiscal year. I know it's available over several years to 2026. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking it out in 2 years. I'm breaking out the first half this year, and I already know what projects. One's going to be a chip, one's going to be a mill and overlay, and that's pretty much going to shoot the whole budget, including what I have and what I need to leverage with the state for half of what's available. I haven't even planned what I'm going to do next year or scheduled it. And if I go out that far, the prices are going to change. So when I apply and the application ends November on 23rd, do I have to put all the requests in for the total amount? Or will I be able to do this same thing this time next year as I start scheduling my projects for the following year?
So the application period is October 15th, not to give you any less time, but that ends on the 15th. But these funds are very much time limited, so they would have to be obligated.
So I would have to project out the total that I would need to leverage. So I would have to figure out what I'm going to be doing the following year, which I really ain't going to get solid numbers on, because to budget that far out and estimate on a job, oil changes, price changes. So it's hard for me to do that. They only hold these bids for a certain amount of time. So what I'm trying to say is I definitely want to use all the money. I will need to leverage it over 2 years with my budget, because I only get about $350,000 in capital, $400,000 in capital. According to that chart, I would have to come up with, $900,000 or $800,000. There's no way for me to do that in one fiscal year. And each fiscal year, we have to get voter approval. So if I even try to do that now, and then I don't get voter approval, I've got no way to get that money. So that's the issue. If I want to apply, I have to break it out over 2 years. That's just how the fiscal government works out here. So to open up an application and try and do what I have to do over 2 years, not having the money or not having the approval from the voters, it's hard for me to do. So that's why I think you got to work with the municipalities to kind of break it out, allow another application for the other half in our next fiscal year for the communities that can't come up with that total amount to match in one fiscal year. And I know there are several of them that don't have the ability to come up to leverage that amount of money in one fiscal year. And not only that, their current year's budget on most of the towns are already locked in. I tried to get as much information out to my communities to let them know the match was going to be 2-to-1 to make sure they could get that into their capital. So that's where we're sitting on this end. If it's out of reach for us, the ability to get it, it really doesn't, not any good. We have the ability to do it, but we need to be able to do it in 2 years with most communities. And to have that application on a 6-week period this fiscal year, trying to project out something we're not even approved for by the voters is difficult to do. So I don't know if there's a way we can work around that.
Yeah, we will, we'll definitely follow up with you. What I can say is those funds are actually, those time limitations are dictated by US Treasury, just based on where the funding's coming from. So it is federal funds. They are flexible in one sense, but we do have certain time limitations. So we wouldn't be able to split up any of that allotment going forward. But it's a good thing to bring to our attention. That'll certainly limit how much participation we can get. So I appreciate it. And we'll follow up with you.
Yeah, what I'll do is my treasurer, finance director is out on vacation this week. What I'll do is I'll have a roundtable discussion with me, her, and you, and see if there's a way that we might be able to overcome that challenge.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Oh,
And as we follow up with that and get some answers, we're going to be posting this so all the communities can see it. So I'm sure questions that come from one are going to come from another community also.
thank you very much. That was some good discussion there. Those are the kind of feedback items we're looking for. If anybody else has questions like that or other questions, feel free to use that Q&A feature button. Yeah, we just didn't want to get too far in, just given the time limitations. I know everybody's got some good questions. So if you get them down in the Q&A, we can make sure we update those to give us a little bit better record. So.
You could get Gene.
Yeah, we can click on G.
Hello, Gene.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess my question is a rather easy one. The presentation we just had, can we have access to it? Particularly those charts the charts that you put up?
Yep, we'll get it updated right after. And one of the items, we also heard some feedback is on that funding table. So we'll make that a little bit more easy to find on the website as well. But yep, thank you for that.
Hey, John.
Leslie from Lincoln has a question, JP.
Caller, are you there? Leslie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Leslie.
I just wanted to follow up on what the first gentleman was saying. I think if you extended the municipal obligation period into July, at least for Lincoln, it would allow us to tap into the next fiscal year's budget. Because our current fiscal year closes June 30th. And based on that timeline, I've already encumbered the majority of our road money for this current year. And if I can't start using that money for the match until after it's awarded, like I'm already tapped out of my money that's available.
So you're saying
Partial of it.
that June 30, 2024 date, it would help you if we.
If it was in July. Because we need to get you a purchase order.
Correct. Right.
That's not issued until after you've awarded the project.
You wouldn't be able to process without the funds to back up the PO.
Right, and so next year's budget becomes available July 1. So an extra month, I think, would help a lot of towns.
Appreciate that, Leslie. That's very, very good info to know. So noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what my question is.
I'm feeling I forwarded the to a few people. So maybe that's-
Yeah, if anybody has any other questions, feel free, throw them in the chat. In the Q&A feature. We have gotten some interest in the, leading up to this, where folks were wondering whether or not projects done this year can count. Unfortunately, it's got to be after the funding has been authorized. If you do have something ready, though, that had other funds, you could use these to supplant. So it's another way to look at it.
And John, this is not solely limited to roads. It could be sidewalks and anything else, right?
Correct, yep. And, anything that you're thinking of, if you've got questions on the timing of it or how it intercedes with some of our other projects, we do have, some mapping and some layers available where we can look and say, is this already coordinated in another part of the state improvement plan? And go from it that way. But your two big limitations, obviously, are going to be your funding amount and the time restriction. So, but yes,
Correct.
those items I listed under bridges and then roads and sidewalks. All right, give me another minute. If you're thinking of something or writing it out. In the meantime, let me just remind you all, I'll be available for any of these kinds of questions. Feel free, shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever you prefer. And as we mentioned, we'll get all these down on paper. We'll upload that PowerPoint. We'll make sure everything's available on the website, so you have as much information offline from these meetings as you need. And then another thing to keep in mind, there's plenty of us out there that really appreciate the participation on this call. So if there are other items you want to discuss and there's enough of us and it makes sense, we can always jump on another Teams meeting. We'll be available. I can't stress that enough. We want to be available to respond to questions as they come up. We know the time is tight, so we really don't want to lag on anything. So please feel free to reach out.
Oh, Jeff's gonna.
Jeff, we see your question. We did speak a little bit about this. I think, again, we're not saying it's ineligible. I think the only concern there would be just the timing and then the amount of funding available. So it's not out of the box ineligible. For anybody who hasn't seen, Jeff's asking if reclamation is allowable under the road portion. I think it would be. It's just a matter of timing and funding amounts and permitting. Thank you, Pam, for that as well. So something to keep in mind. So these are exactly the kinds of discussions we want to have early on, so you don't go too far down a path that might trip you up as we get towards those dates. All right. Well, I will let everybody go. Please keep the communications coming. And like I said, we'll be updating everything soon. And keep checking out that website. Sign up for your alerts if you haven't already. Otherwise, we'll be reaching out, and feel free to contact us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.